What's going on, everyone? Darkside Phil here with a special vlog. This is not a vlog that I had planned on doing, but in light of recent events of things that have been going on, both affecting myself and other YouTubers, I thought this would be a good time to do kind of an impromptu vlog, almost a public service announcement of sorts, to talk a little bit about identity theft, to talk a little bit about taking precautions around yourself and your digital life to make sure that others can't really take control of stuff that's near and dear to you. Alright? If you're not aware, just a few weeks ago, there were two pretty big high profile YouTubers by the names of Boogie and Linus Tech Tips, both of which had their YouTube channels temporarily deleted because of hacking. Now you may say, oh, it was some elaborate hacker who went in there and, hacked their page and there was nothing they could do, right? No, in fact, it had nothing to do with your YouTube page whatsoever. It had to do with this. A cell phone. A simple cell phone. People finding a way to take control of their cell phones and through their cell phones actually getting access to pretty much all of their information. We live in a digital age. We live in an age where everything is online and everything is governed by an email and a password. But over the 7+ years that I have done YouTube, I've found out more and more and more every single day that just a simple password security is just not sufficient anymore for anything. Especially when you have a public persona like me or anyone who's YouTube who has a public face, right? If YouTube's your job, if YouTube's your thing, and you're constantly in interaction with the public, that's a lot of exposure. There's a lot of things that you kind of sacrifice to have a YouTube presence like the one that I have and that a lot of YouTubers have. Privacy is one thing where people constantly find out where people live and then they try to either prank them with certain things and stuff. And yeah, over the years, no matter where I lived, I've been the victim of that. And it goes from as simple as some silly little thing like, oh, I ordered a couple pizzas and, they get sent to the place and then, you're like, well, I didn't order the pizzas, right? So please, I apologize. I didn't order them. I'm not paying for them. And then, unfortunately, the pizzeria takes a hit. So who does that really hurt? It hurts the pizzeria. It certainly doesn't hurt me or any other YouTuber that gets done to. But then it escalates all the way to the point where last year when I was swatted, all right? So it's certainly not a laughing matter. These kind of nuisances and things that happen when you have a public YouTube personality and a public presence. But in particular, the reason that I'm bringing this up today and what I want to talk about a little bit is identity theft when it comes to having a public persona. Because I've been affected over the years several times in many different things that I've done. I've found that people have tried to find back doors behind things, either trying to get access to my YouTube account or trying to get access to an email account or trying to get access to this or that. And the good news is, as long as you put safeguards in place, 9 times out of 10 you should be good. Now, there's always going to be that chance that someone's going to find the new backdoor, the new security exploit, and you're never going to be foolproof when it comes to your online digital profile and your identity. So I would say this, I do recommend, if anyone out there does have like a public YouTube personality, or if this is your business, to enlist in one of these identity tracking services. In particular, there's a few that will look to see if a new line of credit has been opened in your name or if there's a new credit inquiry that's opened up on your credit report and stuff like that. Because obviously, the worst thing that could possibly happen is if someone completely steals your identity and tries to open up a bunch of stuff on your credit, and now you're screwed. It's not your fault, but it could take years to get that cleaned up. Now, in that regard, I've been lucky. No one has ever gotten enough information about me to try to go to that extent. And although I do enlist in an actual, identity monitoring service so that if anything like that happened, I would be notified immediately. It's just a good thing to do. But in particular, when it comes to emails, when it comes to previous services that I've used, I found myself getting either hacked and or people finding backdoors, impersonating me, and trying to get personal info about me. So I'll give you a few examples, because these are things that maybe are outside of the box that you may not think of, and then I'm going to give you a particular example of something that happened to me today, which is really the reason why I'm making this video, alright? So, here's a good example of something that maybe a lot of people wouldn't even think of, alright? before the era of the iPhone, before the era of the iPad, before any of that existed, there was still iTunes. Because you remember years ago, there was the iPod, and you would have to sign up for iTunes in order to buy music over it and put it onto your iPod and stuff like that. So we're talking over 10 years ago. I actually had an account through Apple, through iTunes, all right? Now, everyone knows that I have public data out there. I have public stuff, you know, emails, Twitter handles, and all of that. That's public, ways that you can contact me. Well, there's some legacy stuff that I kind of had that really, in my mind, wasn't important whatsoever, but it had association with some of the stuff that was public, which is always a big no-no. And so one of the big tips that I can give you, if you have a public persona and you have, like, contact me at this business email or, you know, whatever, make sure that that email is not associated with anything from your past, because it could come up to bite you in the butt later on. A perfect example here. It was about a year ago now when I got notified that something had changed on my Apple account. So here I am wondering, what is going on? What changed on my Apple account? You know, my Apple account's fine. I have an iPhone and iPad, and I checked and my billing information was all correct and everything was good, and I didn't see any foreign charges, but I kept getting emails about that someone was changing my Apple password. So I actually contacted Apple, and come to find out, it wasn't my current stuff with Apple that was getting changed. It was actually this legacy account from 10 plus years ago where I used to buy music through iTunes. Now, it was hilarious because the information that was in that account was so outdated. It was like 2 addresses ago. It had a phone number that's been defunct for years, and really it didn't have any private information, didn't have any credit card information or anything associated with it that would have given up my identity. But someone found a way to get into this old legacy Apple account and get data from it, all right? Now, since then, the account is defunct. It doesn't matter anymore. There's nothing in there that anyone could use against me, but it scared the crap out of me when I'm getting emails telling me that someone's changing all. I'm like, man, my current Apple account has my cell phone data, it has credit card data, has everything attached to it, and if someone gets that, I'm screwed. So that's just one thing you got to think about. Gee, 10, 15 years ago, and I know for a lot of people, you may say, man, you know, who cares about that? That was 100 years ago when things are so different now. People can still find and get access to that kind of data. So you want to be careful in regards to old legacy accounts, all right? I'll give you another example. I had a online account that was kind of like one of those clubs or like a rewards program, a loyalty program, all right? And every time that I made a purchase, I would accumulate points. Well, one day, all of a sudden, I get an email saying, thank you for redeeming your points. And I'm like, what is this? Now, this was just recent. This was, I'd say, within the past 2 years or so this happened. Thank you for redeeming your points. I didn't redeem any points. What could this be? So I log in, and lo and behold, someone must have found access or found a back door or an access to this particular account and had redeemed all of my points. Now, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I actually immediately called the customer service line for this rewards program, explained the situation. They looked, they said, so this wasn't you? I was like, absolutely not. And luckily, because I had acted so quickly, I was able to get my points back, all right? So that's a good thing. And a lot of these programs, they will have that kind of safeguard in place. Immediately, I changed my login, I changed my password, I changed all of my data. I added any kind of, you know, security that I could so that wouldn't happen. And luckily, since then, I've had no issues with any kind of accounts like that. Which leads to today's situation. Today's situation is probably one of the most serious, because if this had happened with my cell phone, as people were trying to do to me today, which I'll explain in a moment, I could have lost everything. Because the bottom line is that today, in today's digital world, you need redundancy. Now, what I mean by that is you need additional protections besides just a login and a password. For example, on YouTube, they allow you to link your YouTube account to an alternate email, to a cell phone number, so that they can text you whenever something fishy is going on with your YouTube account. For example, someone trying to break in or repeated login attempts and stuff like that. So there's good protections in place for things like YouTube. The problem is, if someone were to get access to, say, that alternate email or that cell phone number, well, now they've got the back door in, and they could do whatever they want. And that's actually what happened to Boogie and Linus Tech Tips, is they had cell phones where someone found a way to get access to their personal data on the cell phone, and because of that, they went in and said, oh, well, change everything on the YouTube account, delete the YouTube account, confirm through the cell phone, and boom, their YouTube channels went away, and now they had to go through these, channels of contacting people and trying to get it restored. What would happen with me if that ever happened is I would have to contact Machinima. Machinima would contact YouTube, and hopefully within a couple days, YouTube would just restore everything, because they do have backups for everything, which is the good news. You can't just actually delete a YouTube channel. Much like when you say, oh, delete something from a hard drive, you're not really deleting it. You're just reappropriating that part of the hard drive to something else for you to save over it. It's kind of the same for YouTube. So, what happened to me is that I woke up this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, normally, FYI, to give you an idea of my schedule, I get up around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. I take about an hour to 2 hours to get ready, either have breakfast or wash up or have a coffee and, do stuff around the house or whatever to prepare for my work day when I start streaming. And I go to bed pretty late, so my hours are a little bit weirder. I wake up a little later than most people, but I also stay up later than most people to kind of adjust for a YouTube schedule. But my cell phone gets a text message at 8 this morning. So I read the text message. In fact, I can actually kind of just give you an idea, because here it is. Oh, that's not it. Oops. Thanks for calling your cell phone provider. We'll text you shortly for feedback about your wireless call experience. Survey texts are free. How likely are you to recommend this cell phone provider to a friend or family on a scale from 1 to 10? Please respond to this text. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I didn't call my cell phone provider. Why would I be getting this text? Now, this is alarming for multiple reasons. First of all, I have multiple devices with this cell phone provider, so who knows? It could be my phone, it could be another phone, it could be an iPad, it could be a lot of things that are associated with this device that are screwed up now, and I don't know which is which or what the deal is with this. Number two, as I just mentioned, if someone actually gets access to the cell phone, they could find possibly a back door into my YouTube channels and stuff like that. Now they need to actually have access to both the phone and to the YouTube channel and to an email in order to do that. So it's incredibly unlikely, even if they had just the cell phone, that they could do anything. But hey, obviously someone's trying to do something malicious here. And in light of everything that went on with Boogie and with Linus Tech Tips recently, I was like, oh crap, I gotta do something about this. So I called my cell phone provider immediately. And I went through the story with them. I said, I don't know what's going on. It could be someone's trying to hack in and get my stuff. So they looked into it and they said, well, yeah, we actually see that it was actually last night someone called in saying they were you, all right, giving some information, so basic information about me that's probably public on the internet. And just think about this, right? Here's another thing that I want to give you a huge tip when it comes to doing security for yourself if you are a YouTube personality or if you have a public YouTube presence. You know those security questions that are in every single website and every single service? Oh, what was the name of your best friend? What was your high school that you went to? You know those general questions? If you're a YouTuber, you can't use those questions, because the bottom line is, I'm thinking back, right? In the 7+ years I've been on YouTube, I've probably done hundreds, if not thousands, of vlogs. Ask the King, and my podcasts that I used to do, where I would give you stories about my past. And the bottom line is, I've mentioned a lot of this kind of ubiquitous personal information before that in a normal conversation it's interesting to learn about it, but then when you realize, oh crap, that stuff could come up in a security question for a website or a service, right? So what I've started doing, and I strongly recommend anyone out there who has a public presence like mine does this, make shit up, right? So if you go to your cell phone provider and they ask you a question, literally make it up. Like, what high school did you go to? Blow U University. Make something stupid up, but remember that that's going to be your security answer when you sign up to these services, and then you'll just remember the joke answer from then on, and you'll have your answer. And now there's no way anyone could ever figure out your joke answer, so no one could ever figure out the answer to your security questions. It's a huge recommendation that I have for anyone. But anyway, getting back to the story. So yeah, I talked to this guy from my cell phone company, and he says, someone impersonated you. They had general information about you, like your address, but they didn't have any specific information. Like, they couldn't give your full social security number. They couldn't give your personal passcode. This is another good recommendation. If your cell phone provider and some other companies will have another line of protection. So not only email, and password and your phone number, but they might also allow you to create a personalized passcode that will be an additional level of security. I created that with my cell phone provider to make sure that I have it in place, but this person didn't know that passcode. So after about 5 minutes of the customer service of my cell phone provider grilling this person who was trying to impersonate me, the person hung up. And they actually even put that into the log notes. Person terminated the call. We're not sure if they lost connection or if it was someone who was just full of crap, but FYI, it's kind of flagged the account for possible security reasons. So, incidentally, talking with my cell phone provider, they're like, don't worry, nothing was given out, and, we don't know what they were trying to do. They were possibly trying to change your email or your access, probably what they were trying to do, honestly. First, you change the email, right? Then you make up a story. So now the email associated with the account is a different email. So now what they could try to do is get the password on the online stuff changed, right? So then they change the password, right? Then they're going to try to access all of your payment information. Oh, now I got all your personal shit from there. Then once they have that, now the Pandora's box is open. Now they can try to apply for credit in your name. Now they can actually try to get your cell phone number activated on a second phone so that they can clone your phone. Now they go into your YouTube account. And that's kind of what happened to Boogie and Linus Tech Tips, is just it opens the Pandora's box after that. And once the floodgates are opened, who knows when that's going to end, you know what I mean? So the bottom line is, you got to be super careful. The third tip that I can give everyone, redundancy is key in the modern digital era. Whatever additional security you can put, if there's a 2-step verification, a 3-step verification process, I strongly urge you to use it. Because as many hoops as people have to jump through in order to get something done in your name, that's what you need to do. You need to make people go nuts in order to try to impersonate you and get control of any of your accounts. And I'm going to be honest with everyone. When I started on YouTube, I had no idea that any of it would be like this. And I remember, when I first started, they were like, do you want to do a 2-step verification? Oh, skip that. I don't need that. That's nothing that I would ever need. Oh my God. It's key in this day and age that you have it. Because, like I just showed you, if someone could guess the answer to one of your challenge questions, right, your security questions, or if someone somehow gets access to only one of your accounts, it could lead to a big domino effect of them getting access to more and more and more. And without these 2 or 3-step verifications, they could get right in by simply having one piece of information. So, that's pretty much it. The last thing that I do want to mention, because this actually happened to me last year as well, and I just want to give everyone a heads up that this is pretty important too. There are certain services, for example, email services and websites, that if they notice some weird activity going on, they'll notify you automatically, all right? Now, you got to be careful, because I've noticed recently a lot of fake emails have been coming from companies pretending to be just that. For example, PayPal or an email. We've detected suspicious activity. Click here and log in for details. Do you really think that any website ever would send you an email saying click here to log in and give you details? If you ever get an email like that, it's probably fake. Instead of using the email, always go directly to the site and log in. I couldn't tell you how many times I got fake emails that looked like they were legit from something. I went direct to the site or the company or the email, and I logged in through there rather than through the email, and there was nothing wrong. It was completely fake. It was a phishing scam. So you got to be careful about that. But to get back to the point, if there is actually suspicious activity going on, a lot of these services will contact you and say, please, on your own, go to the website or go to the email or go to whatever and log in yourself and change all of your information. So I'll give you an example here. One of my email accounts, last year, I got a message from that email account saying, we've detected suspicious login activity from like some European country. Now, last time I checked, I don't live in Europe. So I'm pretty sure that wasn't me that was attempting to log in to my email from Europe. And it even said they might have gotten access to this email. What we recommend you do immediately, if this is the case and it wasn't you, is log in and change all of your information. So I did. I logged in. I changed the password. I changed the backup email to as a way to get in. I changed all the associations with it, and I even added an extra layer of 2-step security verification so that, God forbid, something happens and someone tries to get into that account again. Hopefully now it'll be prevented. And that's what I mean when I said earlier that 9 times out of 10 you can prevent this kind of stuff. There's always going to be the chance that some information leaks or something gets out. In fact, numerous times in the past 10 to 15 years, I got letters in the mail from something that I haven't dealt with in years. I remember once, it was like my college university's database. I got a letter, we're really sorry about this, but our database leaked. So, you know, your information, your basic information is public now. Someone might have it. Now, we have no proof that anyone sold the information or is doing anything malicious with it, but someone has it out there. We don't know who. Sorry about that. And you read the letter and you're like, well, that's nice. You know, now, I wouldn't have cared about this if I weren't on YouTube, but what's to say that someone didn't get hands on their information from 10, 15 years ago and finds a little piece of something from that they could, go back and get access to. And that's how scary it is in this day and age, this digital age, that you don't know. You have this digital footprint out there, and you don't know what it covers, right? And you don't know what's still lingering out there. You're never going to have foolproof security. You're not. So 9 times out of 10, you will be able to do it if you do these 2 or 3 step verifications. But it's always going to have that one time. So again, I'll close the video with the recommendation I already made. Get an identity monitoring service if you are a public personality like someone on YouTube. I'm telling you, I can actually sleep easier knowing that if something happens, right, that I will immediately get a text or an email from this company telling me, oh, Phil, did you know that a new line of credit was opened in your name? Did you know that there was a credit inquiry on your report? And luckily, I can tell you, never has there ever been anything malicious. For now, I gotta knock on wood, my desk here, because who knows? With all the stuff that's going on and all the new technology, things we're signing up for new constantly and all that, there's high potential, right, for stuff to go wrong. I remember years ago, my Xbox Live account got hacked, and now I don't know how they did that. I didn't have my password wasn't public and all that, but now it's a lot more redundant. If someone tries to change something like Xbox Live or PSN, you get that backup message. You could do the 2-step verification, which is good. They didn't have that at the dawn of that era. That wasn't existing, So it's getting better, but at the same time, people are finding more creative ways to get around stuff. All right, so the good news is nothing happened. My cell phone's fine. Everything's fine. And the bottom line is people will continue to try to do this stuff. All right? And as long as you have a public presence, there's people who think that it's funny to mess with you and to do this kind of stuff and to possibly even, wow, if I could shut down a YouTuber's channel, now I could brag about it, and I have a big e-penis. These people, this is their mentality, this is their life, this is like their meaning of life, because they can't get noticed in any other method. They have to try to find these weird ways to get noticed, and to them, that's like a worthwhile use of their time, while everyone else on the planet would be thinking, what a fucking loser. That's the kind of mentality they have. It's nuts that people do that, but that's the case, and you can't be naive about it like a lot of people were when we started out on YouTube 7+ years ago and say, well, I'm just gonna let it go, it's not a big deal, I don't need these extra securities. No, you need them, because if you don't have them, you could easily find your identity getting leaked out there, people doing stuff in your name, and that's when the floodgates open, and you don't want to go through that shit. Alright. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this impromptu vlog, and I hope that at least you learned a little bit. Maybe you got a little bit more minded for security, and you'll go check your own stuff now and set stuff up, because even if you're not a YouTuber, the bottom line is the risk is still there, and it's a growing and ever-present danger now that everything's going more digital. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you later.